Hey everybody, welcome to another World of Tanks replay, this one in the Object 140, platooned up with Viet Campos E5. We're on South Spawn of Lakeville. And we actually have a semi-competent medium tank driver. Oh sorry, light tank driver. Whoops. So we might actually have some people spotting middle without me having to do it. Now I do have optics on my 140, so I am capable of scouting the middle myself, but if possible, I would like to have the option of moving around the map without my team losing eyes from this position. So initially I push up to support the 132. I hope that he will spot things and then I can shoot them as they cross the gap here. Now ultimately my spotting range is far enough that I'm almost going to spot stuff myself from here. But hopefully they will see him and shoot at him first, if anyone here is going to get lit. So I sit back as he moves up a little. First target's up, it's the IS-8. Gets into cover, T-57's next, and stops. Of course he fucking stops, because he spotted the Wheezy 132. So though my first shot misses because of his sudden stop, I do get a second in there, and then get one into the E75. And we are being shot at this point, but I feel confident enough that I can sit here and shoot for a little longer. And the Wheezy's managed to avoid taking any hits so far. So far the enemy have pushed a Bulldog into the valley, which is really fucking stupid, and a JT. Now, there is no reason to ever send a light tank into the valley on Lakeville because it's just shit terrain. It's soft ground, so you won't have mobility. It's a choke point, so you can't hide or get away. Send heavy tanks and TDs to valley if you're going to send anything at all. Do not ever send mediums or lights. It's just a complete fucking waste. It takes away the two things that they really have going for them, which is mobility and camouflage. In any case, we have a Waffenträger E100 and a JT of our own defending the valley, as well as an E75. That leaves us able to focus on town, although we don't have a whole lot there. We've got 4 heavies in town at the moment. We've got a T-54 who's sitting in K7, obviously trying out for Chai. A T-71 who hasn't even left spawn yet, and one of our TDs is sitting behind Artie. It's the Roomba, in fact. So the enemy scent gets brave and pushes up. Our JT-88 goes down, the Wheezy starts taking hits, but I'm able to get a shot into the scent there as he pushes, and then one into the Wheezy 11. I'm kind of worried about getting Artied here, but I'm also conscious of the fact that we need to try and hold this position as long as possible. So I look for shots on the enemy heavies in town, while I wait for the Centurion to either push or run away. It looks like he's going with running away. Gets cleaned up by the T-54, as I'm able to put some more damage into that E75. I can see though that Viet's about to be in trouble, and so I quickly turn around and head to the town to try and lend some support. Probably should have gone a little earlier in hindsight, but either way, I got there in time. Now, at this point, the enemy have a numerical advantage over us, and it's worth noting that with nothing but artillery and the JT in the valley, and the Bulldog of course, but the guns of the JT and the artillery were enough to kill everything we had in valley, which is a Waffenträger E100 and a JT of our own. And an E75. How we lost those 3, I don't know, but oh dear. So we're going to have to deal with enemy tanks pushing through valley shortly, so the sooner we get things over and done with in town, the better. Managed to bait the ISU into taking a poorly aimed shot there. The enemy are now pushing an ST-1 through the middle of the map, supported by a very low health T-54. Unfortunately, I whiffed my shot. Then take one from the ST1, but he's stock, so at least there's that. And he's also taking fire from the Roomba. Finish off the T-54. Now I'm looking for a shot on the ST1. Obligingly, he drives out of cover and gets slammed. We've now broken through in town, but rather than pushing into town towards the enemy cap, I decide to turn and head back to our own base, just to make sure that the enemy don't push through the valley and fast cap us. Viet turns around as well, while our T-54 sits in the city taking shots up at the ST-1. Sure enough, here comes the enemy Ferdinand. I'm getting pretty low on health, so I want to avoid getting hit by his gun if at all possible. He does have the 128, but he's worked himself into a rather poor position, and he's about to get shotgunned by the 261, which knocks off a good deal of his health. Perhaps not the best trade there. I don't know if it was worth it really for the 261, but I'm not going to complain. It helped me out a lot, as did that shot from the Roomba. And down he goes to a shotgun from the GWE. With him dealt with, there's actually nothing left in the valley. T-54 dives on the AMX 1390, and I was honestly expecting him to lose that fight. Certainly looked like he was about to. And as I push through the valley, something you will only ever see me do after a game has been won, the 54 kills the AMX 1390, but then gets shotgunned by the 261. You can see as I push through this valley just how badly it fucks up my mobility. This is why you don't ever take mediums to this valley. It's just shit. It's soft ground, so you lose your handling ability because you've got much worse terrain resistance. You lose your acceleration, your turn rate, your maximum speed, everything. And there's very, very little cover and concealment. Plus, it's a straight shot for Arnold. Roll up behind the 261. Unfortunately, I zero damage track him there, but little application of front bumper and then another shot finishes him off for a pretty cruisy game and a Brothers in Arms award. Now, the 140 remains a pretty solid tank. There's not a lot between the three Soviet mediums at tier 10. The 430 is the best assault tank, having the best armor overall. Very good mobility, the best camouflage of any tier 10, and the highest DPM. Its accuracy isn't so good, so you need to get in close to really do well with it, particularly if you're trying to fire on the move. The 140 fires very well on the move, much like the T62A. It's a bit faster than the T62A. Its mobility is about on par with the 430. I think it turns a bit better, but its speed's about the same. It has a better hull than the T62, but worse turret. The T62, meanwhile, is the slowest of the three by about 5 kilometers an hour. It has good turret armor, really good turret armor actually. It's very, very solid, and the cupolas are quite small and difficult to hit. So, really, the T62 is a good sort of hull down tank almost. It only has 5 degrees of gun depression, so it's not hull down in that sense, but if you can encourage people to shoot you in the turret rather than the hull, it's pretty solid, very bouncy. It's got really good ground resistance, so it's not fast, but it handles well. It's just a good all-round tank. The other thing I should mention is the 140 has an extra degree of gun depression over the T62A, and the 430 has the same 5 degrees that the T62A does. So, they're only very subtle differences, but they're very subtle differences that play into certain play styles a bit better than others. This is more of an on-the-move sort of flanking tank because of its higher speed, its good on-the-move accuracy. It's just a solid sort of cavalry tank. The 430, on the other hand, is an assault medium. You push into people's faces with it, you get up close and personal. Instead of taking moving shots from a distance, as you blaze down a flank 200-300 meters away from the enemy, you just charge straight at them, get up in their faces. T-62, meanwhile, plays better in a more defensive role, using its strong turret. Its good mobility isn't quite up to scratch when it comes to charging down a flank. It can still do it, but it can't do it quite as efficiently as the other two mediums. So, while any of the three can effectively fulfill the same role, they're specialized very slightly in different ways, and it makes it interesting to see which players prefer which tanks, because usually it tends to mesh quite well with their playstyle. For instance, I've said this before, the 430 is easily my favorite of the three, not just because of its lineage leading up to the T-64, which is one of my favorite tanks, but also the fact that it is a good aggressive tank, and you can really get in and bully people with it. Whereas with the T-62A, I found myself taking a lot of damage trying to play too aggressively with it. And with the Object 140, while it is quite decent at aggressive gameplay, it just doesn't have quite that ability to maul things that the 430 has. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. As ever, I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I'll catch you on the next one.